Hello, BookTube. How's everybody doing today? I got a little more mail, a couple more packages in the mail. I thought we'd go through them and see what we have to sustain us for today. We'll see. It's only 2 packages this time, so is this going to be a case where something here actually does nudge its way right to my TBR tonight? Whenever the number of packages goes down, my curiosity goes up in that regard. So what have we got here? Wow. Okay, what is this? It's a novel with a pub sheet in an envelope. That's odd. Why would that happen? Or it might be self-published. Okay, well, let's see what we have here. It looks like it's a novel. It's called No Truth Left to Tell by Michael McAuliffe. No Truth Left to Tell. Fairly stark. Almost a hint of tornadoes on the horizon. And it's from the Greenleaf Book Group Press in 2020, which comes out on March the 3rd, so it's out already. It's been out already. I'd be pleased to have you review my new novel, No Truth Left to Tell, released on March the 3rd. The book is carried by Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, and numerous independent bookstores around the country, and is also available online through Amazon and IndieBound. So it's an indie press book. I submitted an online message through the website for Open Letters Review. I'm not sure whether it went through to you. Sometimes they don't. Fortunately, there are a great number of ways. I haven't bared down and tried to make sure that every message that goes to Open Letters Review eventually gets to me, because there are so many ways to contact me. If you Google my name, my email comes up. It's the very first thing, and it's in every one of these videos, and it's not hard to find. So let's see here. I noted in my email address that I have a connection to Martha's Vineyard and read your reviews on the Vineyard Gazette. Well, is that so? Well, it depends on how strong a connection. Let's see here. So this book addresses the important national issues including civil rights, violent white extremism, and the criminal justice system that resonate today. The novel's story is loosely based on work I and others did as federal civil rights prosecutors with the criminal section of the Civil Rights Division at the Justice Department in Washington, D.C. Okay. All right, so February 1994, Linwood, Louisiana. Flaming crosses light up the night and terrorize the southern town. The resurgent Klan wants a new race war, and the Klansmen will start it here. As federal civil rights prosecutor, Adrian Rush is about to discover the ugly roots of the past run deep in Linwood. For Nettie Wynn, a victim of the cross burnings and lifelong resident of the town's segregated neighborhood, the hate crimes summoned frightful memories of her youth when she witnessed white townspeople lynch a black man. Her granddaughter, Nicole Dubose, a successful journalist in New York City, returns to Linwood to care for her grandmother. Rush arrives from D.C. and investigates the crime with Lee Mercer, a seasoned local FBI special agent. Their partnership is tested as they clash over how far to go to catch the racists before the violence escalates. Rush's role in the case becomes even more complicated after he falls for Dubose. When crucial evidence becomes compromised, threatening to upend what should be a celebrated conviction, the lines between right and wrong, black and white, collide with deadly consequences. Okay, wow. All right, so No Truth Left to Tell, conveniently set in 1994, so that when we have a resurgence of the Klan and white nationalist ethnic violence, we don't have to talk about the President of the United States. Fortunately, in 1994, as I can attest from personal memory, we might have thought things were really bad, but we never imagined that would happen. So who is this author? Who is, he has a background in, oh, he's young. That is our author. Let's see here. He's been practicing law for 30 years. He was a federal prosecutor serving both as a supervisory assistant U.S. attorney in the Southern District of Florida and as a trial attorney in the criminal section of the Civil Rights Division at the Department of Justice. In 2008, he was elected and served as the state attorney for Palm Beach County, leading an office of approximately 125 prosecutors. In 2012, he returned to the private sector as a global company's general counsel. He's taught law for many years, including as a senior lecturing fellow at Duke University School of Law and as an adjunct professor at the College of William and Mary School of Law. Those are great schools. Uh, he and his wife Robin Rosenberg, a U.S. district judge, have 3 children and live in Florida and Massachusetts. Huh. Okay. Well, I am totally on board with indie press books. I wish more indie press authors sent me their stuff. At the very least, right? At the very least, even if I don't review the book, at the very least, and it's no small thing, your book has been held up and described at length to hundreds and hundreds of dedicated, enthusiastic readers, and your tastes don't overlap with mine barely at all. Much though I've tried to inculcate you, to brainwash a lot of you. No, you still insist on your precious free will. but I mean, this sounds very interesting to me, but it probably sounds a whole lot more interesting to some of you than it does to me. And if you're an indie author, at the very least on this channel, you're getting that. Even if I don't review your book, you're still getting that, and that's a lot. That the indie world, as those of you know who have entered it, the indie world is very hard on authors. I mean, it's great in every way. You get creativity, you get freedom, you get a wide latitude of things that you can do. It's getting the word out. That is the one thing the indie press can't do that the mainstream press has a better ability to do. So, a booktuber who is also a professional critic holding up your book and talking about it on camera is no small thing. So I'm glad that Michael McAuliffe took the initiative to send this. That's great. I'm going to have to maybe email him or do a little research to figure out what his connection to Martha's Vineyard is. Because if his connection is that he lives there, well, that's a horse of a totally different color now, isn't it? Because as there are quite a few of you who are new. I'm probably speaking gibberish, more gibberish than usual to you. I'm a book reviewer. I review from many venues, and one of them is the Martha's Vineyard Gazette, where my editor concentrates on local interest books that are either by people from the vineyard or about the vineyard. And hence, it becomes of interest to me to know what this author's connection is. But let's see what this next one is, and then we'll be done. Just 2 books. I don't imagine I'm going to get any more today. I think this pattern is just going to narrow and narrow and narrow. That's totally understandable. Oh, great. Okay. All right. Well, it's this next one is a double. It's a great book, but it's a double. So this comes out any day now. This comes out on the 24th of March. This is Claudio Sant's book, Unworthy Republic, which is about Indian removal. And I'll read you a bit about it for those of you who maybe didn't catch it the first time. This is a wholehearted recommendation. It's tough reading, very tough reading. The author doesn't spare you at all. But all the more important for that. This is a powerful account of the expulsion in the 1830s of 80,000 Native Americans from the eastern half of the United States. Moving beyond the familiar story of the Trail of Tears, historian Claudio Sant explores how expulsion became national policy, passing in Congress by only 5 votes. How speculators stole indigenous lands in a storm of fraud and violence, and how the federal bureaucracy, overwhelmed by the logistics of the deportation, failed at every turn, and finally sanctioned the extermination of Native peoples who still remain in Georgia and Florida. And this book is it's wide-ranging, but it never loses its edge, its point. It's the sharp edge of its spear, and it's beautifully written. Deserves to be reviewed everywhere. I don't know what kind of attention it will get, but I'm hoping quite a bit, because the author has a perfect way of modulating the story between the big scale and individual stories, individual anecdotes that bring home the desperation, the heartbreak, the savagery, and also the seep of unbelievable indignation. Every one of these Native American tribes, every one of these nations was given solemn, legally binding treaties that specifically said they could not be victimized and dispossessed the way they then were. And it was just a pure case of might makes right. It was a pure case of the stronger of the two parties in a legal agreement saying, we don't want to obey this agreement anymore, and you can't make us. So extremely powerful book. I strongly recommend it. So those are our books here. So we have the opposite ends of the spectrum. We have this is W.W. Norton, one of my favorite non-Penguin publisher, with a big release. I don't know what's going to happen to these books. I say a big release because the idea is that these will go out to every newspaper in the country, that the author will go to all sorts of historical societies and libraries and speaking events of all kinds, and all of that's done. All of that's done. A lot of publishers aren't sending physical copies to newspapers. A lot of newspapers don't have anybody there to receive them, and they don't have anybody at the newspaper to send it out again to writers or reviewers of any kind. And certainly all events have been canceled. So your heart's got to break for authors who have a book out on tour right now or one coming up. No one could have foreseen this. But anyway, we have two ends of the spectrum here. Because we have W.W. Norton. We have a book that's tremendous and that I've already read and heartily recommend. And then we have an indie publisher who's I've never heard of before, who you've never heard of before. It's great to hear from his pub material that his book is distributed at Barnes & Noble. But I wonder if you've seen it. Who's going to go to the bookstore now? So we have opposite ends of the spectrum here. A book that really needs no help to get its name out there, and a book that, if it sounds interesting to you, find the author and buy the book. Once again, that choking sound that you hear and the bouncing up and down that I'm doing is because, once again, the bean is going insane right behind me. See? She's going insane. I don't know why. She just can't make herself comfortable. So she's going insane. Anyway, we'll just try to ignore her. So that's it. That is our mail for today. I don't think there'll be any more today. There may not be any more this week. Every one of these little mail hauls comes with that addendum. It comes with the addendum that there might be no others for the foreseeable future in this new world. So I'm going to wrap this up for now, but I have other things to talk to you about, so I'll be back. Thank you, BookTube.